Hello, everybody, and welcome to One Day Today. We are on episode 70, the first episode of the year for us. What a year we had last year. And I was just talking to our guest backstage just a moment ago about, how this all began. And I said this a lot, but this was supposed to be a live event. The virtual stage was, it didn't exist. It wasn't even an idea, 7 or 8 months ago. It was April, in the middle of April. I remember, our plans hit a wall. And it seems like a theme, I feel like, in everybody's life. But this is kind of what last year was. But we kind of hit a wall. Like, what do we do? Like, we have this big event. We're trying to hold the mirror up to humanity, hold the mirror up to our neighbors, to ourselves, so we can truly experience each other. And this opportunity for the stage really occurred when we really saw that everybody in the world is in the same situation right now. Whether you're a billionaire, whether you have not even a penny to your name, whether no matter where you're at, COVID really forced everybody to look in the mirror, to really see themselves. How did I get here? How did we get here? Who am I? What's important? And it's been beautiful to really observe the conversations that have opened up because of that pause everyone's been forced to make. And it's something that's extraordinary to experience, is even in the depths of pandemic, of all the civil unrest, all the political polarity, the beauty in humanity that just illuminates in the chaos that presents itself in this world. That's where the beauty of humanity shines. That's where, the people who are helpers, the people who are lifting others up, the people that you don't even think or notice or even realize are there until, there's a struggle, until there's, something that we didn't expect. But this whole stage came out of, us recognizing the power and the gift that we all share, but also a space in which we can highlight the people who are focused and who are illuminating beauty and joy and who creating just beautiful things despite the chaos in the world, despite the chaos in their lives that they face and that they've overcome. So it's just such an honor to have this space and to have you just to be here with us. And I want to just welcome you and just wish you all a happy new year. And we're getting started. So without further ado, first let me introduce and say hello to our co-host Matthew. Matthew, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too. Wasn't sure if I was going to make it today, so this is a nice surprise.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. Hi. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to our little corner of the internet where we talk about beautiful things that we see in the world. Um, that forcing the forced mirror you were talking about, the getting like asking questions, how do we get here? There's one question that's been very present for me recently, and that um, is it time to really reconsider the first principles of how we formed our society? Like if we go all the way back to like the evolution of capitalism and all that fun stuff, and we look at where it got us today, this world that there's been some amazing feats. Don't get me wrong, we've done some amazingly cool stuff, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. But we've also ended up with a world that's completely out of balance and disharmony. And this pandemic, I feel like, is just kind of phase one. Like it keeps coming back. How bad is it going to have to get until people actually recognize that we need to change?
mm,
And so this I keep saying it. And I'm going to keep saying it. Like this space that we hold here is to me one of the lights in the dark. We're like, this is a lighthouse. This is a mirror. This is the space where we can really reflect on how we got here, as you were saying, and what can we create from this place. Like,
mm,
what can we create based on everything we've learned from everything that's happened about ourselves and about this world that is maybe starting from love instead of fear.
Mm, absolutely. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a paradigm. It's a paradigm shift of that. You know, we don't even sometimes. I mean, I include myself in this, but we don't even realize that a lot of the what has come up are from the seeds that were planted based on us living in our fears. And we're very restricted when we create institutions, when we create our actions, our emotions, our thoughts are based on the things that restrict us and that we're afraid of. And it's like when we actually change that paradigm and actually come from a place of what's possible, it's a shift. We're not restricted by survival. We're not restricted, and it's really exciting because in this ever connected, globalized world, there's obviously a lot of different opinions, a lot of different voices, but there's never been a bigger opportunity for connection, for community, for collaboration, and that's what we choose to focus on here. And
Exactly.
I want to welcome. I'm really excited and just honored to have our both of our guests. I want to welcome our first guest. We have Rená Cooper, and I'm just so excited to have you, Rená. Thank you for being here.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Matthew.
Nice to meet you too. Sorry I wasn't here earlier.
It's okay. Look, things happen. We're just glad that you're here. How about that?
Me too.
Well, Rená, you shared with me when we met earlier this week just your story, and it's really inspiring. So I just want to let you just have at it, and I'm just so grateful for you to be here with us. But Rená, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you. The honor really is all mine. So I appreciate the connection. I appreciate you allowing me to share my story. My name is Rená Cooper. My first name is actually Yolanda, but everyone calls me René, and I keep my initial just because I thought it was kind of cute to do when I started branding myself. I am a 15-year domestic abuse survivor, and also I've survived 4 attempts of my own life of committing suicide before the abuse and during the abuse. Um, wow. So what can I say? I'm here. How about that? So what I do now is I am a author, advocate, influencer, which is another name for a coach, and speaker. I've spoken all over the country, and I've spoken in 2 countries internationally. I've spoken in Mexico, and I've also spoken in Jamaica. Excuse me. So I've written a book. I am a 2-time international bestselling author on Amazon. The name of my book is called Assassination Avoided, Destiny Defined, as by the title. The reason why I chose the title of Assassination Avoided is because after surviving and coming out of 15 years of being abused, I was actually gunned down in front of my parents' home 12 years ago. I was shot 4 times in my lower back. I was paralyzed for 2 days, up walking by the 5th day, and out of the hospital by the 8th day. So I am I am a woman of faith, excuse me. So I believe in God, and I believe that God has me here for a purpose. And I also believe that people can thrive in their after. And what I mean by after could be anything: after abuse, after a suicide attempt, after losing loved ones, after losing a job, after losing any type of relationship, whether it be friendship, interpersonal relationship, a marriage, things of that nature. And I go around and I share my story as much as I possibly can. I decided this year to be more intentional about what I do, because there were so many people that would come to me and ask me for advice or ask me for help. So that labeled me to be an influencer. So I've taken some steps to become that. So I have clientele who come and talk to me, and I do my best to help them understand that in life, we have what I call my niche, and it's PCS. That's persistent, consistent, and strategic. That's just basically what I tell people we have to do. We have to be persistent in life as far as making decisions and doing things. We have to be consistent, because once we make the mental decision to do it, we have to constantly keep doing it, like building a habit. And strategic. Anything we do in life, I believe, like I said, I'm a woman of faith. God did everything biblically, strategically. And because we are beings of such, I believe that we should still just be just as strategic. So anything we do, when we make a plan to survive, we make a plan of coming out of divorce, when we make a plan of even applying for a new job, I think everything that we do has a strategy to it. We just have to tap into it and unlock it. And the other goal that I have, of course, is to teach people how to thrive in their after. And like I said, there is life, and life could be good after Again, I mean, I've been out of my situation now 12 years, and I've had ups and downs. Don't get me wrong. Every day is not roses. Every day is not cakes, cookies, and buttercream. But at the same time, too, I've also understood that it's about a mindset, and it's about positive thinking, and just knowing that you have everything that you need to survive. You have everything you need to do to get to your next. My coach, and my best friend always says that you were born with the goods. You were born with everything on the inside of you to survive, to make it happen, to build for yourself, to build for your community. Everybody has their own tribe that you're connected to, or that's supposed to be connected to you. So what you do in life will definitely attract those who are attracted to you. So again, I have a not-for-profit organization called For My Voice Matters. That's the number 4. My Voice Matters. And of course, that's 4 for the number of times that I was shot. And I lost my voice in the midst of being abused, but I promised that once I got it back, I would never lose it again. So not only am I a voice for myself in telling my story, but those victims or survivors who are just not comfortable talking about it, but they still need help. They still need assistance. They come to me and I advocate for them. And that's just what I love to do. It's my passion, it's my heart. And the bottom line is, and what I loved about connecting with you, Abram, when we spoke, was the fact being that you feel the same way I do. And I believe your organization is basically about servanthood. And that's what this is all about. It's about serving our fellow mankind. No one should live in a place called stuck. And if I can assist you in coming out of being stuck and learning that there is life, then that's what I do.
I have some technical difficulties here. Thank you so much, Renee, for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
That was it's so inspiring, everything that you have gone through and how you're able to transmute it to such a beautiful thing where you are serving others, where you're sharing the gift of what you've received and facing your own struggles. And it's just inspiring. And I just acknowledge you for having the courage to be who you're being and to share this gift with the world, and to stand up for people who don't have a voice. And there's so many things you said that stood out to me. But one thing, you're talking about how you lost your voice, and you're never going to lose it again. And I just hear it. It's just like, it just penetrates like the distance between, like when you say that, I just feel the stand you are for everybody. And that's so beautiful. And I one thing that kind of comes to mind is what do you say to the people who can't seem to find the courage in their voice? People who have been victims, people who have struggled, or maybe they're still struggling. Maybe this year knocked them off their horse and they can't quite get back on it. What do you say to somebody, to those who are still, looking for that voice?
I'm big on affirmations. I believe everything that we deal with is a mindset, and again, this is not something that I learned overnight. The reason why I feel like I'm an expert in what I do is because I've lived life. I'm really excited this year. Just a little sidebars. I don't tell many people, because when I tell people, they don't believe me, but I'm embarking on 50 this year. So me embarking on 50 and having, look at Matthew, me embarking on 50 and living the life that I lived, the fact being that I survived 12 years of going through, and in that 12 years, it wasn't just abuse. I had to deal with depression. I had to because I was depressed about being in a situation, not being able to come out of it. In the midst of that, dealing with the narcissist, dealing with the fact being even in abuse, life still goes on. So I had to deal with not being able to have children, losing jobs from time to time, dealing with death of loved ones and family and friends. So life still went on outside of my abuse, but so I've engaged in pretty much everything. So what I do say is, when people come and ask me, what do I need to do? First of all, let's sit down and write out a plan. Why do you feel like you're stuck? What is it about this particular situation or this particular time in your life that you feel like you're at a point where you're at a breaking point that you don't want to do it anymore. I tell people all the time, and I got this from my friend as well. There was a point in my time is even after surviving 4 times of trying to commit suicide, there still gets times where I have to fight mentally in my head to say that I don't want to go back to that place. And in the last year and a half, or I'll say, well, maybe about a year, I felt those thoughts coming back to me again. I didn't feel suicidal, but I felt the thoughts creeping back in. And what I had to do was make a conscious decision. So I started affirming myself, finding positive attributions of things that are going on daily in my life pertaining to myself or to my atmosphere. Journaling is a big help. If you don't feel like you can really talk to anybody, like verbally, always write it down. I mean, even if you don't share it with anybody, it's something you've gotten it out. You know what I'm saying? So even if you go back and read it at a later date, you can see where you've come from. I believe in journaling for the simple fact is, again, if I write down a plan it's just like resolutions. I'll use New Year's resolutions. Nobody's probably did one because 2020 was so bad, but 2020, let's just say we started out 2021 with a resolution. Well, most people do vision boards. So if you wrote down what you were going to do January, and you get through half the year, and I tell people when you do vision boards or even journaling, sometimes, don't do it for like a whole year. Or even if you do like mentally do it for a whole year, go back and visit it in 3 to 6 months. In 3 to 6 months, see where you are and see where you got stuck at, see where you're stagnant at, see where you lost hope at, and then try to rejuvenate and figure out where you're at and where you're going. So it's all about, like I said, I can't get off the fact being the word that I keep using is mindset. And one of the biggest things I do when I influence, when I coach or whatever have you, is to let them know that, hey, it's not just you. Somebody somewhere has been through what you've gone through. But at the same time, is what do you do with that information? If you want to stay stuck, you're going to stay stuck. But apparently, even if you're coming to me and you really don't want to talk about it. But if you've opened up enough to confide in me to say, hey, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, then I'm going to give you as many tools as I possibly can. I'm going to try to help you as best I possibly can. But in the interim, or in the end rather, excuse me, it's still a decision that you have to make. And I'll use this as an example. I was in abuse for 15 years. Now, I will tell people all the time, people wonder why I stayed as long as I did. Many reasons. One of the main reasons was, let's just be truthful, I didn't marry somebody who I knew was abusive. I loved my ex-husband, prayed that it would work out, that things would get better, things of that nature. And in that, because I loved him, wanting to see better, wanting to do better, wanting my marriage to work, there came a time in my life that I had to realize, as a matter of fact, it was July of 2008, that I wanted better for myself. That was something I had to make up in my mind. And when I made up my mind to say that I deserve better, that I wanted better, and that I didn't have to put up with this anymore, that's when I started trying to make a plan of escape for myself. Unfortunately, I didn't get to execute my own plan. I got thrown out of my house. So, but that helped me make the decision not to go back. Sometimes, especially when we're talking about DV, there are people who leave, go back, leave, go back, leave, and go back. When they constantly repeat this cycle, usually the cycle of abuse escalates every time they return, because now the abuser is trying to control you more to make you stay. And sometimes it's been told that a victim will try to leave at least 7 times before they actually escape or before they lose their life. So again, when I tell people all the time, when it has to be a mindset, because nobody really knew my situation. Nobody knew that I was being abused until my ex-husband threw me out, and then he started telling people he had been abusing me. I still was not talking about it. Okay. So even with that being said, if he had not told anybody, and because of the way my heart still felt, even though I was upset, even though I had made up my mind, if there was a possibility, there was always that possibility I could have changed my mind and went back. Again, I had to decide for self that self deserved better, self wanted better, and self was going to do better.
Amen. Like that's, I can't tell you how many times it's come up on our show. Like, it comes down to that choice that we have to make for ourselves. And like, looking back at my own experience, I get how difficult it is to even see that there's a choice available in the midst of it. And this actually brings me back to that question I asked at the beginning of the show: how bad does it have to get? Because that's like inevitably that's what seems to push everyone else. It just finally gets to a point where like I was just miserable. I was just absolutely miserable and done. And I was right where you are. Like I need it better for me. Period. The question is, have you had an experience where you were looking back into someone who still hadn't realized they had a choice?
Yes, all the
And
time.
how, like, were you able to demonstrate that a choice is available to them? And how did you do that?
Generally, I do. Anytime okay, so let me explain first of all. My organization is not like a organization. I feel like this. I'm a spoke in the wheel of domestic violence organizations. I'm not the end all to be all. I'm not the cap of it. I just want to make sure that I serve people however I can serve people from my standpoint of what I went through. So you have the National Domestic Abuse Hotline, who has all the resources around the country, shelters, things of that nature. You have local, from where I'm at in the Chicagoland area, you have local shelters who do more. They have resources. When I first started For My Voice Matters, my thinking was I wanted to raise money to be able to assist shelters. One that wanted to help me when I came out of my situation. Even though I didn't need a shelter, I went for the services, the counseling, any other attributes that they could give me. If I want to give back, I want to help other people too. So I helped them out, and then I partnered with a shelter in a city called Dothan, Alabama, who's allowed me to come in and speak to their women, which is really hard to do when it comes to shelters because of privacy, because of safety and things of that nature. But people who come through my organization, because my thing is I really want to be just like we're doing now, we're having a conversation. And I believe with anything that you need to talk about it, you need to bring awareness to it so people can understand that there are options. Everything in life is about a choice. You could choose to stay, or you could choose to leave. You could choose to be healthy, or you could choose to be sick. If you have the choice, I'm not talking about nothing terminal. I'm not talking about nothing that we really don't have any control over. When we talk about sickness, I'm talking about sickness to the point whereas, I choose to stay in this situation for whatever reason, or I choose to get out. So when those people come to me and they, because people don't realize there's physical, emotional, financial, spiritual, and I'm missing one. And they'll come to me while I'm talking probably. But those are the different things of abuse. So when you're talking about it, it's not always physical. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes, it's financial, meaning that the person is such a narcissist, such a control freak that they don't want you to do anything with any money outside them. So you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, whatever have you. So when these people come and talk to me, when I'm trying to explain to them that they have a voice and they have a choice, I explained to them where I was at in my darkest period of time, because at one point in time, I didn't feel like I had a choice. I didn't feel like I could leave. I didn't feel like anything was ever going to change. And that's one of the reasons why I attempted to take my life, because I felt like nothing was going to change. I didn't feel like I could tell anybody. I didn't feel like I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want to be mishandled. I didn't want to be looked upon and laughed at. So I kept a lot of stuff to myself. So for me, when those people hear my story and they inbox me or call me or however they get in touch with me, I just let them know, first of all, I'm not here to judge you. That's first and foremost. I understand where you're coming from. I understand if you say that you don't feel like you can leave now. I understand if you say you're not ready. Because what will happen too is somebody tries to leave, unless it's just a real quick and they got it where they could just pick up and leave and they know they're not going to go back or something like that. Sometimes when you're in situations like this, the quickest escape is not the best escape. I've had too many people in the last 5 years that I've been doing this, that I've seen personally lose their lives on a quick run. I had a girlfriend and she lost her life 4 months after I was shot. She was gunned down by her children's father. And I think that's because sometimes when children are involved, they kind of play with fire. And what I say about play with fire is if you get out and you still have to deal with the children, there's a possibility that, you know, you still have to deal with the abuser. And if the abuser is not right or whatever have you, they usually are planning to do something. And we just have to be aware. It should always be safe places, or when you're dealing with children, you should always make mutual meetings, always have somebody with you to control the situation on your end, not let the abuser be the controller. But when I say when you want to leave and you're thinking about it or contemplate, you're not really sure if you want to do, all I do is I keep affirming you of why you should leave. If you give me the scenarios, I'm going to tell you why this is a better scenario. If you tell me this, I'm going to show you how after coming out of it, I've survived, I've moved on, I've actually thrived, I've done better. Everything's not going to be roses on this side, but at the same time, my personal opinion is a second out of an abusive situation is the best second in your life. It's the best, even if you only gone for a second, it's the best second of your life. And so I just try to help them if it's learning how to save money differently. Like when my cousin shared her testimony with me, I use it now because it's a very good testimony. My cousin was in an abusive relationship with her husband, and she wasn't working. He wouldn't give her any money. She couldn't go anywhere. She had just had a child, and he hated change. So when he would come home, any change, like he would go to the store and get change from any quarters, dimes, nickels, he would just throw it down in cushions. He disliked change. And what she did was, when she realized that she was, it wasn't physical, it was more mentally and emotionally abusive for her, but it was still a task. What she did was she began to collect all of his change, and she put it in a drawer, in a jar, and kept it for herself. When she accumulated enough coins to purchase a one-way plane ticket to get back to her people, or our people, wherever she lived at, that's what she did. So stuff like that makes sense. So I'm a big advocate of a place, small shameless plug, for the app called Digit. Digit is one of those little apps on your phone. You connect it with your bank account, and it takes out, like, I want to say loose change, or it depends on how much you want to save, or a percentage. It takes out like maybe 0.1, 0.2, 0.3%. But if you're not missing it on that level, by the time you look at it, like I could look at it right now, and I haven't looked at it in probably about 2 or 3 weeks. When I first looked at it like 3 weeks ago, and it's called, and you could do different goals yourself, but the ones they set you up originally is called a rainy day goal. And when you look at it yourself, and I've taken money out of it for emergency purposes only, but for the most part, I don't touch it. So I think the last time I actually withdrew some money from it was probably maybe April of last year. Excuse me. I think right now, if I open up my app, I think it's like at $600. Now, I didn't intentionally, meaning that I got to figure out, break down my bills, whatever have you, pull this money out and put it to the side. Because a lot of times when you think about it, if you have a savings account and you have something, and you decide you overspent somewhere, or you want to go to the movies and you forgot that you had this bill to pay or whatever have you, you'll go to that savings because you're used to, and you know what you've put in there. And by that time, you've depleted most of your savings because you just keep going in nickel and diming. Well, this particular app, it's like almost like outside of the mind. It's like if you pay attention on your phone, you'll know it's there. But for the most part, you don't even know it's there. And then by the time you look at it, you're like, oh my God, I saved this amount of money. So just going back, planning it safely, maybe putting clothes at a friend's house, maybe getting, if you can, if they're not paying attention to finance like that, find you like a little storage facility, get one of the smallest rooms, start stacking up clothes in there, or even hide money there, or just stuff that you could plan. So when you're ready to go, you can go. I was privileged this year. I call myself one to be the Harriet Tubman of domestic violence. And I was blessed this year to be able to take my first client, and I actually transport or assisted her in getting from one state to another, and had resources there for her when she arrived and things like that. So For My Voice Matters was really just an organization that was supposed to be about bringing a change by conversation. and by bringing people my way so they can talk about it. And then not only the victims and survivors talk about it, I want to talk with everybody about it, because 9 times out of 10, you know someone that's in a relationship. And if you look for signs, or if you see some type of signs, you'll be able to address it properly, or at least know what you're dealing with. You can offer assistance or not, or you could just kind of watch out for them. But I would gather people together like once a year, and I would invite people of expert, people that work in the penal system, for perpetrators, social workers, things of that nature. And we would get together and we would just have a conversation. And the people in the audience, they could or could not have been victims. They could or could not have been survivors. They could have lost a loved one to domestic violence. But they're there for a reason, to get information, to listen. If they have any questions, I'll try to get the best answer I possibly can for them. If I don't have that answer that night, as soon as I get home, I'm trying to find the best answer for them. So that's how my organization really started. It has evolved in 5 years. Like I said, I wrote a book for that reason. I traveled the country for that reason. And I'm now helping people come out of situations, because by way of Facebook, and I thank all the people on Facebook who donate to the organization, me signing up for other grants from other organizations, myself giving of myself because it's my baby. I've been able to raise in the last, I want to say in the last 3 years is when I really started fundraising, really fundraising. I probably raised like close to, I don't know, $7,000-8,000. And it sounds small, but that money that I've given out for stipends, to buy diapers for somebody who didn't have money to get diapers for their kids that are in an abusive relationship, like I said, to help this lady move from one state to another. I try to give every year to the shelter in Dothan, Alabama, because that's a shelter that's near to my heart, because that's the hometown my mom was from, and she's no longer with me. Things like that. So yeah, that's it. I could run my mouth all day, so y'all need to intervene and tell me to shut up.
Thank you so much, Renee. Like, it's amazing, again, what you're creating out of your, like, it's just, I'm inspired by you and by humans that, taking the pressure, taking the struggle, and shine a bigger light than like exponentially bigger than like the suffering that you've endured, and the courage that you're sharing and allow. It's like you have such an impact, and it's just amazing to experience you speak about the work you do, because it's like you were making a difference. I mean, I've been a victim. I've been in situations in my life where I was bullied when I was younger. I was a victim a lot of my life, and I didn't know how to talk about it. But it's people like you who share your experience with that courage that gives all of us that ability to say it's not so bad. We all have that choice. And I just admire you holding that mirror up and just really sharing your story, because it makes such a big impact. So just thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Renee.
I appreciate you all for it. Thank you for having me. This has been an honor and a privilege, and thank you for the platform.
Absolutely. And we'll check back in with you after. We're going to check in with the audience real quick and bring Patty on. And then afterwards, we'll kind of come back for a round circle if we have time, hopefully. So
we'll see. I'm sorry, but sorry.
No, you're good.
Great. Thank you. Thank you again, Renee. And thank you for everybody who's tuning in with us. I want to take this moment to really invite you and welcome you to share your story and your gift on this virtual stage. Now that's why we're here. It's not about me. It's not about, it's about all of us. We all have a unique gift, unique genius and contributions that enrich us all. And your story, your struggles, what you've overcome and what you've faced in your life is what gives all of us the ability to face that in ourselves and our experience, and gives us the courage to share. So I really want to open this invitation for you to share on this virtual stage. We thrive off of people like you who have overcome the chaos and the struggle in their lives. And this is an open invitation, and we welcome you and would love to have you share with us. And this is part of our one-day mission, which is bringing you and me and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. We're doing that one conversation, one story at a time. Now I'd like to welcome our second guest. We have with us Patty Blakesley. Welcome, Patty.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you so much, Abram and Matthew. It's nice to meet you. when I
Jackie,
heard
thank you
you
for
talk
joining us.
about the difference between the creating something out of love or fear, it brought to mind one of my mentors, Gary Zukav, who I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he was Oprah's most frequent guest. And he wrote a book called The Seat of the Soul. And Renee was talking about choice, and Gary will say that every choice we make either comes from love or from fear. Mm-hmm. So you might find him very interesting. Okay,
absolutely.
So what is...
Patty, the stage is yours, Patty. I'm going to hand it to you.
Well, thank you. What is my gift? I am a perpetually positive person. And despite being raised by a suicidal mother and an alcoholic father, and I had some really tough times as a kid and kind of feel like I lost my childhood at a certain point and became sort of the mother of the family, which is common with lots of kids who grow up in alcoholic homes. But I did go to college and I did get a job and I started working and was married and had a kid. And that beginning to my life didn't really set the stage for a lot of success. And so eventually I did divorce and I had a son. And one day we decided we'd go do something fun, something physical. And we went to a martial arts exhibition and we decided to start taking karate together. Now I bring this up because I was 48 at the time. I'd been a tomboy. I certainly loved physical activity, but this is not usually when you start a martial arts journey. And I have been on that journey now for 24 years and I have achieved the rank of 4th degree black belt. And I teach and practice karate every week. And during the pandemic, it was karate that really kept me centered and believing that this wouldn't be the disaster that it could have been for myself and my business. And it reminds me that the man who started our karate, it's called Matsubayashi-ryu, he was a karate practitioner in Okinawa, which is where karate comes from, at the end of World War II, when the island had been devastated by the Japanese and the Allied forces fighting. And a lot of karate masters actually died either in combat or through starvation. And Grandmaster Shoshin Nagamine created karate, and he helped to give people hope, and he helped people find their center and stay connected with their culture. And his training was spread throughout the world by armed service members who came back to America or went to Ireland or Australia. And now there's this whole organization, several organizations of karate practitioners. And what I learned through my journey from karate is how to master my mindset. Because as Renee was saying, we always have a choice. And one of the choices we get to have is how we're going to feel, how we're going to act, and how we're going to exist here on the planet. And we have that choice. I'm a big appropriate technology person because I think it was Matthew that was saying, the pandemic in 2020 kind of sent us all back to our room to figure out what the heck we've done. And we have these institutions and these things that exist in the world that are heartbreaking. And just look what happened yesterday in the Washington, D.C., the home of the democracy of America. And there are so many things that we can all help create to make the world more what we would like to see. We would like to see a more equitable, fair society, I am sure. Everyone can agree on what we want, but we can't agree if we don't talk. So I really love the concept of this virtual stage and bringing us together to have a conversation about how we can make the world a better place for everyone. Ourselves first, possibly that is more important than people realize. Oftentimes, I'm a personal and professional development coach. I call myself the inner business coach because it's always an inside job. It doesn't start out there. It always starts here. And I want to help people like myself who were stuck. You know, I had this kid, I was in this sandwich generation, and it was when I chose to continue the practice of karate because I enjoyed it. That's when I chose myself. And it wasn't selfish. I was taking care of myself. I've done a lot more since I have started taking care of myself. I've been very active in nonprofit organizations. I have always helped people as best I could whenever I could see that I could be of assistance. And that's probably why at 68 or whatever I was, I decided to become a coach, because I know there are people out in the world like myself that feel stuck, that don't realize that they have a choice and that they can control their own life by mastering their thinking. And mastery of your mind is the first step toward change. And I use what I learned in my karate journey so far, I'm still on it, to help people really come unstuck, to thrive in their life and change all the aspects of their life that they would like to improve. And we're always wanting to improve. And I'm really excited to learn about the collaborative nature of your program. And I'm just so grateful to be here. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Patty. It's amazing. Your story and I acknowledge you for, sharing your story and your ability to master mindset. I'm really curious to hear more about that. In your own experience is there anything you can share with us with helping us mastering our mindsets that you've learned from your 4th degree black belt training?
Well, one of the things, mindset's being used all over. Yesterday I read an article, master your financial mindset. Okay, what's that? But here's what I know. There are, if you look as a triangle, and I got this from my Coach Jeff Kubek, there are 3 aspects to mindset. One is mental. What are the thoughts or the beliefs you're focusing on? Because if you think the world is flat, you're never going to get in a ship and find America. Even if the king and the queen are giving you all the resources you need, if you have that limiting belief, you're not going to make it to a new country, right? So, and we have conflicting beliefs sometimes, like time is money, well, is it? Or do we have to be patient as a virtue? And they can conflict. So it's important to kind of ferret out what your belief is that you're focusing on. And then your language. I teach a course with one of my friends called The Science and Soul of the Words. Because words are powerful. They may only be 7% of communication, but they are very powerful. And Renee talked about affirmations, and I love afformations because they are a way to harness the power of your unconscious. You ask a question assuming the result you want, which is a very interesting way to look at it. So instead of saying, I feel great, it's sort of, why do I feel so wonderful? And then your brain starts to seek out ways to help you feel wonderful. But the whole practicing how you say things, and knowing that how you say things, every time we say a word, there is a biochemical message that gets sent to every cell in our body. So as my karate master would say, just like Yoda, do or do not, there is no try.
Mm.
And how many times do you hear people say, I'm trying? I used to say it all the time. I'm trying to master this, and he would repeat that over and over again. But the really important thing that I learned through my karate practice is there is a physiological aspect to your mindset. Have you guys heard of Ann Cuddy and the Power Pose? She did a TED Talk. It's one of the most watched TED Talks. She was a professor of business, and 50% of the grade for any student was their participation in class. And being a female, she noticed that the men tended to speak more. And she started talking with another professor who was a biologist, and they ended up studying people's physical movements, and they found that lifting your arms like this for just 2 minutes reduces all your stress hormones and increases all your positive hormones. The Wonder Woman pose, which you got to stand up to see, but these things make a difference in what's going on up here. So that's what I know about mindset, and I know that to master it in any area, you need to incorporate all three aspects of that triangle. That's what I'm creating a course right now called Mindset Mastery, because I really believe that there are lots of ways to have professional or personal growth, and you've seen people with 13 steps or 18 ways. It's not that hard, folks. It's like flipping a switch. When I understood that I could do something, I can do it. It's simple.
There's something I've noticed. I'm curious because it sounds like you've had a similar journey in a lot of ways to what I've experienced. I always talk about it as time seems to be accelerating. And what I mean by that is several years ago, it took a good friend of mine. I think he said he taught like a 6-week course on how to read energy. And in that 6 weeks, most people would get it towards the end of the 6-week course. About 2 years ago, I did a retreat with him, and he taught a room full of people how to do it in about an hour and a half. About 2 weeks ago, I taught a couple of people to do it in about 10 minutes. So these things that years ago took longer for people to learn, they seem to be people seem to be much more capable of picking it up much faster these days. And I wonder if you've noticed that, and if you've used it to your advantage in any ways.
Well, I do believe that there is a general lifting of vibration in the world, and individuals are coming onto the planet with a different spirit, I will say. And I also think part of what you're describing could be the fact that focus is more important than intelligence. And I know that when I was first learning karate, and this is a lifelong journey, I'm studying right now a series of movements put together called a kata. And the Grand Master says this will take you 10 years to master. And I know I can't go to a 1-week workshop and master it, but I can go to a 1-week intensive training and learn quicker because it is intensive, it's focused. And also, we stop ourselves. Our ability to learn is often because we stop ourselves. So if you can become exhausted and still get taught something, it goes in a lot faster. And I can only say that because every year we have a 1-week intensive karate. We call it internationals because we have people from Canada and et cetera come. And in that week, we learn so much more than, 7 days back home. So I think, to me, it sounds, I'd agree with you about it. And I think it's because of focus and also breaking down that resistance.
Focus, and also the other thing that comes is receptivity. Like, people are just more open to it, it feels like.
Well, yeah, and their intention, right? If you go for, I don't know, you said 10 minutes to read energy. I'd love that 10 minutes.
Yeah, if we have to, if you have time afterwards, I'll sit with you guys and do a little quick intensive, see what happens.
I would love that.
Okay.
It's exciting.
I'm game. Well, this actually feels like a great time to bring Rihanna back on, and I want you to connect. Renee, I'm sorry, I don't know where my head is sometimes.
It's okay. Renee, it looks like Rena. I get it all the time. But thank you.
Welcome back, Renee. I want to give both of you an opportunity to share about if you gained anything from each other sharing, and kind of open up this conversation.
Oh yeah, I mean, we basically pretty much, like, she piggybacked back off a lot of stuff I said. So I mean, basically what we do, regardless of whatever field it's in, I feel she's for servanthood and just trying to get people to understand or get through whatever they need to get through. So it's for the most part, a lot of stuff that we do when we come, especially with your organization here, from what I've seen on your website and everything, you all are trying to do the same thing we're doing. You're just doing it on a larger scale because you all have truly involved the world. The fact being that you all have taken time, again, thank you for the platform, that you all have taken the time to search for people like yourselves who have stories, who have testimonies, who are doing stuff, and just giving us the opportunity to share. So those people who may feel comfortable talking to me can reach out to me, or comfortable talking to Patty, reach out to Patty, or whoever else you bring on your platform. So it's just awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and I loved listening to your story, Renee. And I used to shelter women where I live, and so I'm familiar on some level with some of the issues, and I'm always open to supporting. I'm happy to learn about your foundation, and I hope I can be a contributor.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, it's beautiful. It's such a, I saw some dots connecting in with what you both shared, but I guess one thing that kind of comes to mind here is, like, with incorporating what Patty was saying about mindset, and what, Renee, what you were saying about our choice and where do we go from here as individuals and as a society? Like, what does this new year open up? I mean, obviously, as Patty pointed out what was happening in Washington, we're observing a lot of these old mindsets, the old paradigm. It's, as Matthew said, it's kind of phase one. This pandemic is opening. We're observing a lot of past toxic seeds come to fruition. But I feel like we have an opportunity because we observe it in a whole new space. Like, I feel like we're more aware of who we are and where we're standing. And I just want to open this open inquiry. Is like, where do we go from here as individuals and also as a collective?
As individuals, we still have to remain positive and just do the best we can with what we have. That's really what I feel. But I also believe, truth be told, one of my biggest passions is the youth. And if you pay the last election and everything that was going on, how the youth came forward, whether they were for Republicans or Democrats, doesn't make a difference. Just the fact being that they were more verbal. A lot of the youth were less demonstrative. I mean, they were more demonstrative, less violent. A lot of the youth got on different platforms. I'll use, for example, Black Lives Matter, and it didn't matter what race, creed, or color they came from. They just realized that it was an injustice that was happening and they need to be a part of it. So I personally believe, and that's one of my things, I want to become a major speaker or platform in schools. I believe if we get to our youth in so many of these different topics, so many of these different things, that they're the ones that's going to turn this around. But just being honest, first of all, before we do anything, and this is just like a drop the mic thing, before you could get any help from anybody else, you have to first be honest with self. If you're not going to be honest with yourself about whatever's going on, nobody, no matter how much inspiration I give you, no matter how much I talk good, bad, indifferent, it's not going to make a difference. You got to be honest with yourself.
I would agree. And I do believe that we all have a role to play in creating the future. And we need to think about that in every choice we make. You know, the whole Greta Thunberg, you know, the 2019 Person of the Year on Time. You know, she started a grassroots environmental protection mission. And the kids resonated with that. And even locally here, there were demonstrations by kids. And we need to stay vigilant and promote what we want to see in the world. I think that's the most important thing. And your platform is helping to do that. So thank you both for that. And Renee too. I mean, we all have a role to play.
Yeah, thank you both. I really appreciate it. One of the more, like for me, one of the more enjoyable aspects of hosting this is getting to meet women who are not afraid to speak their truth. You know, I grew up in a world, as I suspect most of us did, where that's not really accepted or open. And anytime I get a chance to meet women like you who are out there, who are on the other side of their trauma, who are sharing their story unabashedly, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, just to accentuate what Matthew was saying, it's so refreshing to, you know, to have, you know, powerful women like yourselves sharing your truth, but also just contributing to this conversation that, you know, when we actually see ourselves for who we truly are, when we actually rise above our traumas, rise above, you know, the things that held us back, you know, that we can achieve so much, you know, for ourselves, but also for our families, for our communities, for our world. And it's, you know, and we all have our own, you know, to quote an old song, you have to walk your own lonesome valley. We all have our own lonesome valley that we have to go through to get there. And it's terrifying because when you're standing in that lonesome valley, it's a lonely valley. But it's what we don't realize while we're in that lonesome valley is that's giving us the tools, that's giving us the mindset, that's giving us, it's strengthening us to be able to take anything thrown at us and be able to create beauty, no matter what ugly situation is the universe or God puts in our path, we can rise above it with strength, but also empowering everybody in the world. Like we don't have to be. Yeah.
Renee, I just saw your note. I know you got to run. I want to give you an opportunity to say goodbye really fast and hop off.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Please, Renee, go ahead, please.
I appreciate you, and I'm sorry. Like I said, I didn't realize I looked at the wrong time zone. These whole time zone things, they give me all the time. So I do apologize. But thank you again for the opportunity. I will be in touch. I love to stay connected with you all. You all, please, you have my information. Abram, please make sure you keep me abreast of anything that's going on and how I could be of service to you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Renee. We absolutely will. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care, Renee. But I was saying, like, it's such an honor and a privilege to have you share your story with us, both you, Patty, and Renee. And it's like, it is an honor to just have you share and the light that you are, and it was very inspiring what you shared. And I would love for you to come share with us again soon in the near future.
Well, that'd be my pleasure. And it's amazing. We just met, but don't you feel like we've known each other before?
Absolutely.
And that's the kind of cool thing now. And to Matthew, when you talked about acceleration, I do think that there's an acceleration in connecting with people, that I can hardly be on any networking experience where I don't make a good connection with someone. And I believe that that is part of what I refer to as the lifting of the vibration. But maybe it's just all of us as souls realizing that we have this role to help the planet.
Yeah, it is. How can I put this? It is a very unique time to be alive, and I am actually grateful to be here for the first time in my life. I feel like we have an opportunity here to actually move into a loving society. And to do that, it requires conversations like this, being vulnerable with people who have no intention of being peaceful with you, or people who can actually hurt you, or me, or whoever. It requires a mindset of positivity and perseverance and dedication and love. And I'm very much looking forward to where we go from here.
I think the world is changing, and the more we focus on where it's changing positively, I believe that we will attract more positivity in the world. Because, we're all just humans.
Exactly.
And nobody does anything but what they feel that they will feel better for doing it. Right?
Right.
That's the only good of it, is to feel better. So I'm sure that even the people who I don't politically agree with, or people who haven't even thought about any of the stuff I've ever thought about, I know that I could connect to them one-on-one. So it's just a matter of, using my voice to help people be more themselves, choose themselves to go forward, and be positive in their world.
Yeah. And just remember, on the other side of trauma lies wisdom. And that journey of finding your own wisdom, it can be hell sometimes, but on the other side of it, there is light, there is wisdom. And to anyone out there who's listening, we're here. And there are other people out there too.
Right. And when you're in that lonesome valley, know that there's a whole bunch of other people in their own lonesome valley. And when you can connect, it'll be a beautiful valley.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Just what Matthew was saying, our breakdowns are really, they're not just a wall. They're an opportunity for a breakthrough. And, the things that hold us back are ultimately what point us to how to grow, how to expand, and how to, and it's, I constantly been saying lately, it's like how the world is occurring for me lately, and what I'm up to is a dance between overwhelm and expansion. And it's like, and every time I get overwhelmed, there's a purpose. I could just be a victim and like, oh, I don't know what to do, but it's really an opportunity to grow beyond what was holding me back before. And that's really what our struggle is. And that's really the way I see it. That's the role of chaos and our role as humans. And it's like, as you said, Patty, we're all just humans. And sometimes we can, it's like walking a tightrope of what comes with being a human and what we identify with ourselves as, because I'm human, I have thoughts, I have feelings, I have emotions. But when I identify with those things, I kind of lose myself. I lose really.
Well, we are. We
Right.
are humans, but don't forget underneath all that we're spirits having a human
Exactly.
experience. And so
Exactly.
like Gary Zukav puts it very beautifully, to become authentically empowered, you align your personality with your soul.
Right.
So you take
Beautiful.
your aspects of humanity and enable them to represent your soul, which is love, Matthew.
Mhm.
There's just no getting around it. That is a soul emotion, love.
Yeah, beautifully said. We have thoughts, we have emotions, we have memories, we have all these things, but that's not who we are. We have those. We are something way deeper than our senses. And I'm just so
Tell my clients is, don't believe everything you think.
I
Because
love
they can
it.
lead you astray. Stories are really powerful for connection. But if you're telling yourself a story about someone, it might not be true. So you have to check in and make sure that the story you're believing is accurate.
Right. Right.
And that's where it all comes back to awareness, like,
Mhm.
or noticing, like just being aware. If you don't even notice the story your mind is telling you,
Right.
you'll always be trapped by it.
Mhm.
It's a conceptual prison that's, just like an actual prison. We trap ourselves in our concepts and our stories about what happened and what we make it mean. It's been such an honor and a privilege, and just to have you share with us, Patty. Thank you so much for
Thank you for
being here with us. Thank you
Great.
so much. It's just been a wonderful conversation. It was so nice having you and to have Renee, and it's just a powerful, inspiring conversation. So thank you again. And for those of you at home tuning in, thank you again for being with us. Again, I want to invite you to share your story, share your experience with us on this stage. We're here to share your story, to share what you've been through, what you've experienced. And your sharing is what allows everyone to see themselves and for them to share their story. And it's a gift that keeps on giving, this gift of transformation. And we can share vulnerably and authentically, truly, what we've been through and what we've overcome. It gives others that power to do the same. And that's part of our one day vision, where we're all headed, is humanity rising in a connected world, with each person's unique contributions being valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. Thank you all for being with us. I love you all. Be safe, be well. We're only just getting started in this new year, in this new era. But as always, one day is today. Peace, everybody.